My family flew across the country for my brother's gender reveal, but claimed a 2-hour drive to my wedding was too exhausting. Realizing I was just their bank account, I canceled their cards and put the home they lived in rent-free on the market immediately. This is where the story truly begins, and you won't want to miss what happens. Make sure you're subscribed to see it through to the end. We're always curious. Where in the world are you all watching from today? Let us know in the comments. The silence in the bridal suite was heavy, the kind of silence that rings in your ears louder than a scream. It was 3 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle. My dress, a vintage lace gown I had spent months restoring myself, hung on the door frame like a ghost. I sat on the edge of the velvet settee, the phone in my hand feeling incredibly heavy, as if the plastic and glass had turned into lead. "Anna, are you still there?" My mother's voice on the other end of the line was casual. Breezy, even. It was the tone she used when she was canceling a dentist appointment or rescheduling a lunch date, not the tone one uses to shatter their daughter's heart on her wedding day. "I'm here," I whispered, my voice cracking. I cleared my throat, trying to find the strength that usually defined me. I was a historical restoration architect. I rebuilt crumbling foundations for a living. I should have been able to handle a phone call. "Barbara, please tell me I misunderstood you. You're saying you aren't coming, any of you." "Oh, Anna, don't be dramatic," she sighed, the sound of a television humming in the background. "We aren't not coming out of malice. We're just absolutely wiped out. You know how sensitive your father's back is, and Ryan says Chloe is feeling incredibly nauseous today. The thought of that 2-hour drive. Honestly, honey, it's just too much to ask of us right now. We need a rest day." I looked at my reflection in the vanity mirror. My makeup artist, a sweet girl named Sarah, had left the room 10 minutes ago to give me privacy, but I knew she had fled because she couldn't bear to watch me crumble. My eyes were already red-rimmed. "A rest day," I repeated, the words tasting like ash. "Today is my wedding, Mom. I am getting married. David is waiting. The guests are arriving." "You have a reserved table right next to the altar. You're telling me that a 2-hour drive on a highway is too much, but you're all sitting at home watching TV. We're recovering, Anna." Her voice sharpened, taking on that familiar defensive edge. "We've had a very busy month. The travel, the excitement, the stress of the twins coming. It takes a toll. We expected you to be more understanding. You've always been the independent one. You don't need us holding your hand to say, 'I do.' Besides, we sent a gift. It should arrive by Tuesday." "It's not about the gift," I said, my grip on the phone tightening until my knuckles turned white. "It's about my family being there. Dad isn't coming either." "He's napping," she said dismissively. "Look, we'll come up next weekend, okay? We can do a nice brunch, just the family. It'll be better, more intimate, less pressure." I closed my eyes. The image of the empty table, table one, the one with the centerpiece I had designed specifically with her favorite hydrangeas, flashed in my mind. It would be a gaping hole in the reception, a public declaration of my insignificance. "Next weekend won't be my wedding," I said softly. "Stop trying to guilt-trip us, Anna. It's unbecoming. You're almost 33. Stop acting like a child. We are exhausted. Respect that." She hung up. The disconnect sound beeped once, then twice before I lowered the phone. I didn't cry immediately. I just sat there, frozen, feeling a coldness spread from my chest out to my fingertips. It wasn't just disappointment. It was a physical blow. The realization wasn't that they were tired. It was that they didn't care. They simply didn't care enough to get in a car. The door creaked open, and David, my fiancé, peeked in. He wasn't supposed to see me before the ceremony, but he knew. He always knew when something was wrong. He saw the phone in my lap and the devastation on my face. He didn't ask if they were coming. He just walked over, knelt in front of me in his tuxedo, and took my cold hands in his warm ones. "They aren't coming," I stated, the tears finally spilling over. "I know," David said, his jaw tightening, a flash of anger in his eyes that he quickly suppressed for my sake. "I'm so sorry, Anna." "They said they're tired," I sobbed, leaning my forehead against his shoulder. "They said a 2-hour drive is too much." David held me tight, letting me ruin his suit jacket with my tears. But as I cried, something else began to bubble up beneath the sorrow. It was a hot, jagged feeling. It was the memory of my bank account balance, the memory of the deed to the house they were sleeping in right now, the memory of the credit card bill I had paid just yesterday. They think they can just reschedule my wedding for a brunch, I whispered into his shoulder, my voice hardening. They think this is over. I pulled back and looked at David. The betrayal isn't that they aren't coming, David. The betrayal is that they think I'm still the same Anna who will pay for their brunch next week. The wedding went on. It had to. I walked down the aisle on the arm of my best friend's father, a kind man named Mr. Henderson, who had stepped in without a moment's hesitation. He patted my hand as we walked, whispering bad jokes to make me smile, but every time I looked at the front row, the empty chairs I had refused to have the ushers remove, I felt a fresh stab of humiliation. We had placed reserved signs on them. I left them there. I wanted everyone to see. I wanted the gap to be visible in every photograph. During the reception, as I danced with David, I couldn't stop my mind from replaying the events of last month. The contrast was so sharp it felt like a physical wound. 4 weeks ago, my younger brother, Ryan, and his wife, Chloe, had hosted a gender reveal extravaganza in California. They live in New Jersey, just like my parents, just like me. But Chloe, who describes herself as a lifestyle curator on Instagram, decided that the light in Malibu was essential for the content. She wanted a destination reveal. Ryan, who hasn't held a steady job in 4 years and calls himself a visionary entrepreneur while dabbling in failing crypto schemes, naturally agreed, and who paid for the flights, who paid for the rental of the beachfront villa. I did. It's an investment in their happiness, Anna, my mother, Barbara, had told me then. They're having twins. It's a miracle. You have the business, you have the savings, don't be stingy. I had paid, I always paid, but it wasn't just the money. It was the effort. My parents, who today claimed a 2-hour drive on a paved highway was a death sentence, had happily boarded a 6-hour flight to California. They had endured layovers. They had dealt with TSA. My father, whose sensitive back prevented him from sitting in a car today, had spent hours hiking up a sand dune because Chloe wanted a specific family photo at sunset. I remembered watching them that day in Malibu. Barbara was beaming, holding a Grandma to Be sign, fussing over Ryan's hair, making sure Chloe had water. They were vibrant. They were energetic. They were present. Look at us. Barbara had shouted to the drone camera hovering above us. We'd go to the ends of the earth for these babies. The ends of the earth, but not to Pennsylvania. Back at my wedding reception, I sat down at our sweetheart table, pushing a piece of salmon around my plate. You're thinking about Malibu, David said quietly, pouring more champagne into my glass. I'm thinking about the math, I replied, my voice dry. New Jersey to California is roughly 2,800 miles. They did that with a smile. New Jersey to here is 90 miles, and they couldn't make it. It's not the distance, Anna, David said, reaching for my hand. It's the respect. They don't respect you because they don't fear losing you. They think you're a permanent fixture, like the plumbing. He was right. I was the utility bill they didn't have to pay. I was the safety net that never broke. I took a sip of champagne, and for the first time that day, the sadness began to recede, replaced by a cold, calculating clarity. I looked around the room at the people who had shown up, my colleagues from the architecture firm, David's boisterous family, my friends from college. These people loved me. They had traveled. They had brought gifts. They were cheering. And then I thought about what was waiting for my family back in New Jersey. They were currently resting in a sprawling 4-bedroom farmhouse on 6 acres of land. It was a beautiful property, built in the 1920s, which I had bought 5 years ago as a restoration project. When Ryan and Chloe got married and Ryan's startup failed, Barbara had begged me to let them stay there, just until they get on their feet. That was 3 years ago. Barbara and my father had moved in shortly after, claiming their townhouse was too cramped and they needed to help with the future grandbabies. They paid no rent. I paid the property taxes. I paid the utilities. I even paid for the landscaping crew because Ryan refused to mow the lawn, claiming he had allergies to manual labor. I looked at David, a strange, small smile touching my lips. They forgot one crucial thing, I said, my voice barely audible over the music. What's that? David asked. They forgot who owns the roof over their heads, I said, and they forgot that my name is on the deed, not the family trust. David's eyes widened slightly, and then he smiled, raising his glass. To clarity, he said. To consequences, I replied, clinking my glass against his. To understand why this betrayal broke me, you have to understand the history of the golden child. Ryan was born when I was 6. From the moment he arrived, he was the sun, and I was just one of the planets orbiting him, hoping for a little warmth. He was a sickly baby, which made my mother fiercely protective, but as he grew stronger, that protectiveness morphed into unchecked indulgence. Ryan never did wrong. If he failed a test, the teacher was incompetent. If he broke a neighbor's window, the neighbor shouldn't have put a house there. I, on the other hand, was the capable one. I was the old soul. I didn't need help with homework. I didn't need rides to practice. I didn't need praise. I just needed to not be a burden so Barbara could focus on Ryan. I worked hard. I put myself through college and grad school on scholarships and waitressing tips. I built my career in historical restoration from the ground up, earning a reputation for being meticulous, reliable, and tough. Ryan drifted. He went to 3 different colleges, dropped out of all of them, and then started a series of businesses. There was the custom sneaker business. I bought the inventory, he never sold a pair. There was the podcast network. I bought the equipment, he recorded 2 episodes. And now there was the crypto consultancy. When he met Chloe, it was like gasoline meeting a flame. Chloe was 24, beautiful, and completely allergic to the word no. She fed into Ryan's delusion that he was a billionaire in waiting who just had bad luck. When they announced the pregnancy with the twins, the family dynamic shifted from indulgent to obsessive. The twins are the future of this family. Barbara would declare at Sunday dinners I cooked and paid for, we have to do everything to support Ryan and Chloe. They are under so much stress. The stress of living rent-free in my $800,000 farmhouse. The stress of driving the Range Rover I leased for family use. I had allowed it because I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be part of the inner circle. I thought that if I provided enough, if I solved enough problems, eventually they would look at me with the same adoration they gave Ryan. But the wedding snub was the final piece of data I needed. They didn't see me as a daughter or a sister. They saw me as a resource, an infinite resource. The antagonist wasn't just Ryan or Chloe, it was the system. But the ringleader was Barbara. She was the one who triangulated us. She was the one who called me to cancel. She was the one who decided my feelings were dramatic, while Ryan's whim to not drive 2 hours was valid exhaustion. 3 days after the wedding, David and I were supposed to be on our honeymoon in Italy. We were at the airport, waiting to board. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. Hey Anna, hope the wedding was cute. Sad we missed it. Listen, urgent favor. The pool heater at the farmhouse is acting up and the water is freezing. Ryan wants to take a dip. Can you call the guy to come fix it ASAP? Also, we need the credit card number again. The grocery delivery app says the old one expired. Thanks. No, congratulations. No, how was your day? Just a demand for a pool heater and a credit card. I stared at the screen. The audacity was breathtaking. It was almost impressive in its total lack of self-awareness. I looked at David. Cancel the flight. David blinked. What, Anna, we're going to Rome? We can go to Rome next month, I said, standing up and grabbing my carry-on bag. Right now, I have to go to New Jersey. Why? He asked, though I think he already knew. Because I need to fire my family, I said, and I need to do it in person. I didn't reply to Chloe. Instead, I opened my banking app. I navigated to the authorized users section of my primary credit card, the one Barbara, Ryan, and Chloe all carried. Status, active. I tapped the screen. Status, suspended. Then I called my real estate attorney, a shark of a woman named Joyce who had been telling me for years to evict them. Joyce, I said when she answered. It's Anna, I'm ready. Ready for what, dear? Prepare the notice to quit, I said, my voice steady and cold. And call the broker. I want the for sale sign on the lawn by tomorrow morning. We didn't fly to Rome. We rented a car and drove 2 hours to New Jersey. The irony wasn't lost on me. The drive was quiet. David drove, his hand resting on my knee, while I stared out the window at the passing landscape. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is hot and messy. It makes you shout and say things you regret. This was something colder. This was architectural demolition. It was precise. It was structural. I spent the ride making calls. Not to my family, I had blocked their numbers temporarily to focus, but to the people who actually ran their lives. First, the landscaper. Hi, Mike, it's Anna. Listen, I need to cancel the contract for the property on Elm Street, effective immediately. Don't come next week. Then the pool maintenance company. Cancel the service. Yes, today. Then the cleaning lady. Maria, I'm so sorry, but I won't be needing you at the farmhouse anymore. I'll send you a severance bonus, of course. Thank you for everything. By the time we pulled into the driveway of the farmhouse, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the manicured lawn I paid for. The house looked idyllic, a white clapboard dream with a wraparound porch, my dream house. The one I had restored with my own hands before I let them turn it into a commune for the unmotivated. There were 3 cars in the driveway, my parents' sedan, Ryan's leased SUV, which I co-signed for, and a flashy sports car I didn't recognize. Whose is that? David asked, nodding at the red convertible. Probably one of Ryan's investors, I said dryly. We didn't go inside. Not yet. We parked down the street, hidden by a line of trees, and waited. I needed to see Joyce arrive first. Joyce pulled up 10 minutes later in her sleek black sedan. She stepped out, smoothing her blazer, holding a thick manila envelope. She looked like a predator entering a petting zoo. I texted her, "We're watching from the road, go ahead." She walked up the porch steps and rang the doorbell. I watched through the windshield as my mother answered the door, a glass of wine in her hand. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the body language. Barbara smiled at first, confused but polite. Then Joyce handed her the envelope. Barbara looked at it, then back at Joyce. She laughed, a short, dismissive laugh, and tried to hand it back. Joyce refused, said something sharp, and pointed to the document. Then Ryan appeared in the doorway, shirtless and holding a beer. He looked annoyed. He grabbed the envelope from Barbara and ripped it open. As he read the first page, his posture shifted from relaxed arrogance to frantic confusion. He started shouting, gesturing wildly at Joyce. Joyce simply nodded once, turned on her heel, and walked back to her car. The notice to quit had been served. 30 days. They had 30 days to vacate the premises. As Joyce drove away, I saw Ryan crumble the papers in his fist and throw them onto the porch floor. Barbara was already on her phone. My phone, which I had unblocked just for this moment, lit up immediately. Incoming call, Mom. I let it ring. Then a text, what is this joke? Some woman just showed up with eviction papers. Call me now. Then Ryan, yo Anna, very funny, call off your dogs. We're trying to relax here. I didn't answer. I just watched them pace on the porch. The panic was setting in, but the real blow was yet to come. I opened my banking app again. The credit card I had suspended earlier, it had just been attempted at a local liquor store. Declined, $145, $50, $5 minutes later, another notification. Declined, Uber Eats, $62. The realization was hitting them in waves. The free ride wasn't just over, the vehicle had been scrapped. We stayed at a hotel nearby that night. I didn't sleep. I spent the night drafting emails to the utility companies to transfer the bills into their names effective immediately. If they wanted electricity, they could pay for it. The next morning, I decided it was time. I wanted to look them in the eye. I dressed in a sharp business suit, my site visit armor. David wore a crisp button-down. We drove to the farmhouse at 10:00 a.m. The for sale sign was already being hammered into the lawn by the real estate agent's assistant. It was a beautiful, large sign, coming soon, historic farmhouse, prime location. As we pulled into the driveway, the front door flew open. Barbara stormed out, still in her bathrobe, her hair wild. Ryan followed, looking disheveled and furious. Chloe waddled out behind them, looking more annoyed than anything. What is the meaning of this? Barbara shrieked, pointing at the sign. Anna, have you lost your mind? You're humiliating us. I stepped out of the car, calm and collected. Good morning, Barbara. I see you met Joyce. This is insane, Ryan shouted, marching down the steps. You can't evict family, we have rights. We have squatters' rights or something. Actually, I said, my voice steady, you have a month-to-month tenancy at will, which I just terminated. You have 30 days. Where are we supposed to go? Chloe whined from the porch. I'm pregnant, Anna. I can't be moving boxes. You have 30 days to figure that out, I said. Maybe you can use the money you saved by not buying a wedding gift. This is petty, Barbara yelled, her face flushing red. This is because we missed your little party. You're throwing your pregnant sister-in-law on the street because you're jealous of the attention she's getting. My little party was my wedding, I corrected her, stepping closer. And no, this isn't because you missed it, it's because you lied. You told me a 2-hour drive was too much for you. If a 2-hour drive is too exhausting for you to support your daughter, then maintaining a 6-acre property must be lethal. I'm doing this for your health, Mom. I'm downsizing you. We were tired, she sputtered. We are old. You flew to California last month, David interjected, his voice deep and firm. You hiked a sand dune. You weren't tired then. That was different, Ryan snapped. That was for the twins, that was important. The silence that followed was deafening. He had said the quiet part out loud. Thank you, I said softly. Thank you for confirming what I always knew. The twins are important. I am not. Don't twist my words, Ryan backtracked, realizing his mistake. I just mean. Look, Anna, you have plenty of money. You don't need this house. We do. We're building a family here. You can't just pull the rug out from under us. I'm not pulling the rug, I said. I'm selling the floor. The market is hot, Ryan. I can get $950,000 for this place as is. That's a lot of capital I can use to start my own family, since clearly I'm on my own for that. You're selfish, Barbara spat, tears welling up in her eyes, tears of rage, not sorrow. I raised you better than this. To value money over blood, it's disgusting. I value respect over exploitation, I countered. And since you offer neither, the transaction is closed. I turned to the real estate agent who had just finished installing the sign. It looks great, Tom. Let's get the listing live by noon. You can't do this. Ryan screamed, lunging toward me. David stepped in front of me, a solid wall of protective anger. Ryan stopped, chest heaving. The credit cards are canceled, I added over David's shoulder. The utilities are being transferred to your names today. The landscaper is fired. The pool guy is fired. Welcome to adulthood, Ryan. It's expensive. We got back in the car. As we backed out, I saw Barbara collapse onto the porch steps, sobbing into her hands. Ryan was kicking the for sale sign. It was an ugly scene. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the urge to fix it. By the time we got back to the hotel, my phone was vibrating so constantly it was moving across the nightstand on its own. 215 missed calls. Not just from them. From aunts I hadn't spoken to in years, from cousins, from family friends. The voicemail box was full. I listened to the first few. Aunt Linda, Anna, your mother just called me in hysterics. She says you're making them homeless. How could you be so cruel to a pregnant woman? Call me. Cousin Mike, hey Anna, heard you're going through a tough time, but eviction, really? That's harsh. Ryan says he offered to pay rent and you refused. What's going on? Unknown number. You selfish witch. I hope your husband leaves you. Poor Chloe is in the hospital with stress because of you. They had launched a smear campaign. They were spinning a narrative where I was the unstable, jealous monster who was punishing them for a minor slight. They left out the part about the years of financial support. They left out the wedding snub. They left out the fact that Ryan had never offered to pay a dime of rent. They're good at this, David muttered, listening to a voicemail from my sobbing grandmother. They're desperate, I said. They know they have no legal leg to stand on, so they're trying the court of public opinion. I sat down at the desk and opened my laptop. If they want a public trial, let's give them the evidence. I spent the next 3 hours compiling a document. I called it the ledger. It wasn't just a list of expenses, it was a timeline. June 2019, purchased farmhouse. Down payment, $160,000 Anna. August 2020, Ryan and Chloe move in. Rent paid, $0. December 2021, parents move in. Rent paid, $0. $2,020 2023, property taxes paid by Anna, $36,000. 2020-2023, utilities paid by Anna, $18,500. $2,020 2023, credit card statements for family expenses, groceries, gas, Amazon, $42,000. Last month, flights and villa for gender reveal paid by Anna, $6,500. Yesterday, wedding gift from family, none. I redacted the account numbers, took screenshots of the text messages where they refused to come to the wedding, and formatted it all into a clean, undeniable PDF. Then I posted it. Not to the whole world, but to the family chat group, the one with 35 members including all the aunts, uncles, and cousins who were currently blowing up my phone. I added a simple caption. Since there seems to be some confusion about why I am selling my property, here are the receipts. I have supported 3 able-bodied adults for 3 years to the tune of nearly $300,000. They couldn't drive 2 hours for my wedding. The Bank of Anna is closed. Please direct further inquiries to my attorney. I hit send. The phone stopped ringing instantly. The group chat went silent. Then, the typing bubbles started. Cousin Mike. Whoa, $42K in groceries. Aunt Linda. Wait, they told us they were paying you rent. Uncle Bob. Ryan told me the house was in a trust. The narrative was crumbling. The truth, laid out in cold, hard numbers, was immune to tears and manipulation. But the antagonist wasn't done. That evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a local area code. Hello. Is this Anna? A man's voice, official. Yes. This is Officer Miller from the local PD. We received a call from your mother, Barbara. She's claiming you entered the property unlawfully this morning and stole several items of jewelry. She wants to press charges. My blood ran cold. They were escalating to police reports. They were trying to get me arrested to force me to back down. Officer, I said, my voice shaking with rage but remaining controlled. I am the owner of the property. I have the deed. I was there to oversee the installation of a for sale sign. I did not enter the house. My husband was with me the entire time. I see, the officer said, his tone shifting. Well, she was very insistent. She says you have a key and used it to take a diamond necklace. I have a key because it's my house, I said. But I haven't been inside in 6 months. Officer, this is a retaliation for an eviction notice served yesterday. I can send you my attorney's contact information. That won't be necessary just yet, he sighed. Sounds like a civil matter getting messy. I'll make a note of your statement. But if you come back to the property, I suggest you bring a police escort to avoid these accusations. Noted, I said. I hung up and looked at David. She called the cops on me. She accused me of theft. David stood up, his face hard. That's it. No more playing nice. We're accelerating the sale, and we're suing them for the back rent. Can we do that? I asked. If we can prove there was a verbal agreement or even just implied tenancy, we can sue for damages, David said. But more importantly, we can sue for the credit card debt. They were authorized users, but if they used it for unauthorized purchases, that's fraud. I looked at the ledger on my screen. Let's do it, I said. Let's burn it all down. The week following the ledger drop was a blur of legal maneuvers and strategic silence. I stopped responding to their texts, their calls, and their frantic Facebook messages. Instead, I let Joyce do the talking. Joyce was terrifyingly efficient. She filed a civil suit for the unauthorized credit card charges, specifically the $42,000 in personal expenses that had been charged to my business account under the guise of home maintenance. It turned out Ryan had been buying high-end gaming equipment and selling it on eBay for cash. The open house was scheduled for Saturday. My parents and Ryan had been served with a court order. They were not to be present on the property during showing hours, or they would face immediate removal by law enforcement. I didn't go. I couldn't bear to see my childhood memories trampled by strangers looking for flip potential. But David insisted on being there, just in case. He called me at noon. "It's a zoo," he said, sounding almost giddy. "There are 20 cars here. 2 offers already over asking. People love the historic charm." "And the family?" I asked, my stomach nodding. "Gone," David said. "They left at 9 a.m. But, Anna, you're not going to believe this. Your Aunt Linda showed up." "Linda, the one who called me cruel?" "Yeah, she came to see the house. She's looking to buy." I laughed out loud. Of course she was. The vultures were circling. "Did you tell her the price?" "I told her the price is firm, $950,000, cash preferred." "Did she blink?" "She blinked, but she's seriously considering it. She wants to turn it into a B&B. She says it's a shame to let such a family treasure leave the bloodline." "Let her buy it," I said, feeling a strange sense of detachment. "As long as the check clears, I don't care who lives there, just get them out." By Monday, we had 7 offers. The highest was $1 million, cash, from a developer who wanted to subdivide the land. I accepted it immediately. The closing was set for 30 days. That meant my family had exactly 29 days to vacate. The reality set in for them. The threat stopped. The guilt trip stopped. Now it was just panic. Ryan called me on Tuesday night. His voice was small, almost childlike. "Anna," he said, "please just talk to me." "I'm listening," I said, putting him on speaker. "We have nowhere to go," he whispered. "Mom and Dad have no savings. Chloe is due in 2 months. We can't get an apartment approved with my credit score." "That sounds like a problem for a visionary entrepreneur," I said, my voice devoid of sympathy. "You have a month. Find a job, find a rental, sell the crypto, do whatever you have to do." "But why?" he cried, his voice cracking. "Why are you doing this to us? We're your family, just because we missed one party." "It wasn't a party, Ryan," I said, finally letting the anger surface. "It was my wedding, and it wasn't just that you missed it. It was the lie. You said a 2-hour drive was too much. You said my biggest day wasn't worth the gas money. That's not family. That's a parasite finding a new host." "I'm sorry," he wailed. "I'm sorry, okay, we messed up. Just let us stay until the baby is born." "The house is sold, Ryan," I said. "The new owners take possession next month. It's done, you have 29 days." I hung up. The next 3 weeks were quiet. I focused on my work. I focused on David. We finally booked our honeymoon Greece this time. Then, the day before the closing, I got a notification from my security system. Motion detected at front door. I opened the app. It was my mother. She was standing on the porch, holding a box. She looked older, tired. Defeated, she rang the doorbell, even though she knew I wasn't there. Then she set the box down and walked away. I asked my neighbor to pick it up. Inside was a photo album, old pictures of us as kids, smiling on vacations I had probably paid for, and a note. "Anna, I know we hurt you. I know we took advantage. I'm sorry. Please don't hate us forever. We found a small apartment in town. It's not much, but it's a roof. Dad is working part-time at the hardware store. Ryan is driving for Uber. We are trying. Love, Mom." I read the note twice. I didn't feel forgiveness. Not yet, but I felt closure. The sale closed on a Tuesday. The wire transfer hit my account 2 hours later. $1,045,000 after fees and paying off the small remaining mortgage. I was a millionaire, but more importantly, I was free. I used the money to start my own firm, Anna and Associates, Historical Restoration. I hired 2 junior architects and a project manager. I bought a small, beautiful townhouse in the city for David and me, just us, no guest rooms for freeloaders. We got a dog, a rescue greyhound named Atlas. 6 months later, I ran into Aunt Linda at a grocery store. She looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight from foot to foot. "Anna," she said, forcing a smile, "you look great." "I feel great, Linda," I said, genuinely meaning it. "I heard about your firm," she said, Impressive, your mother mentions it sometimes. Does she? Yeah, well, things are hard for them. The apartment is small. Ryan and Chloe are struggling with the twins. It's a lot of noise in a small space. I'm sure it is, I said, reaching for a carton of oat milk. She misses you, Linda said quietly. She really does. She knows she messed up. She misses the ATM, I corrected her gently. And that machine is out of order permanently. That's harsh, Anna. It's healthy, Linda, I said. It's the healthiest thing I've ever done. I walked away. I didn't hate them anymore. I didn't wish them ill. I hoped the twins were healthy. I hoped Ryan found some stability, but I wasn't going to be the one to provide it. That evening, David and I sat on our balcony, drinking wine and watching the city lights. Do you regret it? David asked, looking at me over the rim of his glass. Selling the house. Burning the bridge. I thought about it. I thought about the empty table at our wedding. I thought about the exhaustion excuse. I thought about the 215 missed calls demanding money and accusing me of theft. No, I said, leaning back in my chair. I don't regret it. Bridges are for people who want to cross to the other side. They just wanted to stand in the middle and throw rocks. David laughed and kissed my hand. To new foundations, he said. To new foundations, I agreed. I took a sip of wine. The city below was noisy and chaotic, but up here it was peaceful. I had built this peace. I had paid for it, not with money, but with boundaries. And it was worth every penny.